Dr. Blue, early on. Is it like an election for a mayor? Is it a political election where all of the community within Teton County vote for this man?
Sure. It's usually during their mayoral and city council elections. There'll also be an election for coroner. Like in upstate New York, it's done with the mayoral elections. And in most areas, to be a coroner, all you need is to be 18 years old, have a driver's license. Now, Dr. Blue did run against, I think, Ed, you mentioned he was running against an anthropologist, a forensic anthropologist. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So Dr. Blue ran on the platform that he is a physician and therefore much more highly qualified than the average person to be a coroner, which is true. And you can see if you go on Facebook, you go to his page, Dr. Brent Blue, and you will see his little ad campaign, his election campaign, when he ran for this position last year. And he says, I'll answer your questions. And I sent a question, but didn't get any answer. I don't think he's monitoring that right now. He's kind of busy. So yeah,
what was the question?
It's a political. What question did I send him? Please tell me about your training for death investigation.
As you remember,
I have his Facebook page up. Go ahead, Ed.
As Barbara would remember, in our forensic science training program back at the New York City Office of Chief Medical Examiners, we had numerous coroners attend our training, and for many of them, it was the first time they had ever received any formalized death investigation training.
Yep, absolutely. Some of these folks had no training at all. And in most areas, the requirement is that within 1 year, they take some kind of death investigation training.
Dr. Blue said, he said there was a domestic violence component. How did he know that? I would say he would know that because he was there conducting the autopsy. No, Barbara?
I don't know.
Yeah. Or it might have been a spontaneous utterance, right, Ed?
Yeah.
He definitely slipped that out. And it's funny because he says he can't give some of the, by state law, he can't give some results of his findings, but he said she wasn't pregnant.
Right.
Coming up with this timeline, 3 to 4 weeks, I don't feel, and correct me if I'm wrong, that Dr. Blue came up with that. I think he had some help. Could you talk a little bit about the help that he received? And I think we did.
Sure. That had to be from as we talked about before, the forensic entomologist. It had to be from the insect studies, and it had to be from the forensic anthropologist and the forensic pathologist that he called in for their expertise. They would look at the decomposition, but mostly I think it's going to be based on the insect activity.
Right.
That gives you, by the day, that gives you days.
Could she have been the victim of also some form of blunt force trauma injuries, an assault type thing? And again, I think you could speak on this with the forensic anthropology's help. And whether it's a full skeletonized body or a partially skeletonized body, they did a full CAT scan of the remains. Mm-hmm. Maybe you could tell, what some of the findings could be, why that CAT scan is important for the anthropologist.
It's a good question, and I'm not quite sure why they wanted a CAT scan. Mm-hmm. They had the bones, they had the flesh. I don't know. I mean, you probably recall years ago, people started doing what they called a virtopsy, a virtual autopsy, strictly by CAT scan, not even necessary to open the body. But as Dr. Hirsch, my mentor and the chief of the medical examiner's office, pointed out, the word autopsy means to see for oneself. And he said, I am going to look at the body, inside, outside, and all around. I am not going to look at an X-ray or a CAT scan and call that an autopsy. Mm-hmm. So could they have done that to look for some missing bone. I just don't know. Why do a CAT scan?
Could it be possible that it wasn't a fully skeletonized body and there was still tissue, muscle, and other materials over bone?
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure, there could have been scraps of tissue and, you know, and skin and mummified or decayed, but what would the CAT scan tell us? It would just say, there's tissue, here's muscle, here's bone.
What if the bone was broken?
Then they should be able to look at that bone and see that it's broken.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, you know, this domestic violence thing, if, for instance, if he saw a fracture of the orbit under the eye here, which happens with a punch, if she had a broken nose, broken eye socket, bruising in the remaining flesh, a broken bone, and the strangulation, then one could suppose that that was domestic violence rather than you know, ordinary injury of some kind. So, but it's the preponderance of the evidence. It's not any single item.
Yeah.
You know, you can't look at a bruise on the shoulder and say domestic violence.
Dr. Blue, he was bound by Wyoming, you know, statute and code. He really couldn't say much, but he did. He said a couple of things because I don't think he's used to holding a press conference, even though it was on Zoom. But he did show a little bit of his cards and a little bit of what we already kind of were thinking and wondering.
Yeah.
So,
and Ron, just before we close that, I'd like to say that these are my opinions based on my experience, and that I have not seen that autopsy report. I wasn't there. So what we're talking about here are reasonable possibilities, reasonable suppositions, and inferences we can make from the evidence he's given us. So, but it's his case. So,
from a perspective of someone who has walked the walk and talked the talk. And I thank you for making that statement. I always put it in the description as well. Barbara Butcher, what a name for a person in the business. How much torment did you get while you were growing up? Were you always into this type of work? I know that you talked about getting deceased animals shipped to your home, or little bugs and insects, and dissecting them as a little girl.
Yeah.
Or a teenager. Can you talk just a little bit about that? Because there's plenty of people fascinated with Barbara Butcher.
For my birthday, I got a dissection kit. For Christmas, I got a microscope. And then my parents, for holidays, used to buy me dead animals.
Is this or does this business run in your family, in the Butcher family?
No, my dad was a cop, left as a deputy inspector, NYPD. And, you know, I wanted to be a cop, but they didn't like girl cops then, especially ones who wore glasses. You know, that wasn't, you know, you had to have perfect eyesight and all those things back in my day. But anyway, yeah, I dissected animals as a kid. The name Butcher served me very, very well in the medical examiner business because they didn't forget me. And, you know, the guys love saying, oh, here comes Dr. Butcher.
And Barbara, will you promise to come back? Will you pinky swear with me that you'll come back?
Pinky swear. I love being on your show. I love your audience. I love seeing Eddie, my old pal. Yeah. And it's great to work with you all. And have a good night, everyone. Stay safe.
And don't forget, Barbara's working on a book. It's coming out soon, probably within a year. So when that book is coming out, when it's getting close, you're going to come on and we are going to talk about that book, because I have to get one signed first before Bill Cannon gets it. We love and respect you, Barbara, and thank you so much.
Thank you, Barbara.
Stay safe, everyone.
See you soon.
What a pleasure. Ed, I mean, you got to work with her for how many years?
Oh, in the field before I retired, so many years, when we went over to the medical legal death investigation system. So from the 90s, and then I worked with her 6 years at the medical examiner's office.
Wow.
She was my direct supervisor. I only reported to her.
That's fascinating. I'm sure that you have so many stories to share with us in the future about your work with Barbara Butcher. Like she said, you know, people would call her Dr. Butcher. I mean, she made a comment 2 streams ago about there was I think it was a surgeon that came in and Dr. Hackett, and then or just some crazy stuff, but some fun stuff.
Well, I'm just happy to be here, and I love all your questions. I just wish that I could answer all of them. Some of them I are out of my area of expertise, and I will not cross that line and go there. I know where my line is, and I don't go past it. But I'm happy to answer all those forensics questions as much as possible. I just love educating people about my work and what we do in forensics.
All right, so I just got in about 150 of these promotional pens, and it's I don't know if that's going to show.
It's blurry, Ron.
All right, hold on, give it a second. It's gonna come in. Why isn't it not?
Oh, there you go. Yeah, there you go.
All right, so it says subscribe to DutyRon on YouTube, and then if you turn it over, it says Crime Time with DutyRon, retired NYPD detective. So it's a it's kind of like you could use it as a stylist, and it's a great pen. I'm going to be doing some giveaways, so let me know in the chat by putting a 1 in the chat if you'd like to receive one of these pens and have me do a giveaway. It'll be some cool stuff. You might have to subscribe to some of my social media, show some proof of it. And we are selling these EquiSearch Midwest Lost is Not Alone wristbands. They search for the missing. And this is a fundraiser. All of the money that you purchase these on dutyron.com, $10 a pop, it goes to Lost is Not Alone, the Midwest EquiSearch. Please go over there, fill out the form, and support the organizations that search for the missing. Thank you to the replay viewers, everyone who positively interacted in the chat. And if we missed some of your questions, down below in the comments is a way to interact with me and Ed. We both look at the comments. We answer some of the great questions you leave. So love and respect. God bless the world. God bless the United States of America. And God bless each and every one of us here in the chat. But especially all victims of crime and their families, and Gabby Petito's family, the Schmitz, the Petitos, Joe, Jimmy, Nicole, Tara. They all need our support and love. Send them strength, prayers, and positive vibes from my house to yours.